Hey guys, welcome to episode 3, and this week we'll be focusing on Lightroom. This is going to be a fun one because I'm going to show you guys how we can kind of dramatically change the lighting using selective edits. First things first, let's fix the exposure of this image. So let's bring down the highlights and up the whites a bit, and as well as the shadows. We want to get as much detail as possible. Now let's toggle the color panel. Let's change the color temperature to something a bit more cooler. And then select the blue and desaturate it, but not too much because we don't want the screen of the phone to look, desaturated completely. Take out a little bit of the yellow from the wood and then make the orange a little bit punchier, I guess, but a little bit brighter using luminance. Let's also add a little bit of vibrance. Okay, now to the fun part. To your right, you'll see an icon that's underneath the band-aid. Looks like a sun. Click on that. Okay, so I want you guys to look at the top left side of your screen, and there's a plus sign. I want you to tap on it. This will bring up 3 different options, and let's talk about them for a second. The first one is the brush. Tap on the brush and it'll bring up 4 different options. If you tap and hold on the first one, the top one, scrub up and down while you're holding it. This will change the size of the brush. The second one changes the hardness of the brush, and the third one changes the opacity. Really quickly, going back to the 3 main options, the very last one, which is the square, it's the gradient tool. I just want to show you guys very briefly what it looks like, but we're not going to use it this week. But what we are going to use this week is the middle one, the one that's like a little sun in between the brush and the square. It's called a radial brush. So tap on it and then click on the screen, and you'll see that you can modify the shape and the size. So before we move on, I'd like you to look at the photo real closely and pay attention as to where the light source is coming from. Judging from the shadows, it makes sense that the light source is coming from the left because that's where the window is. So what we want to do is tilt this radial brush and to kind of mimic the actual light. This is going to help us try to enhance the lighting of the image. Let's stretch it out for a bit and maybe change the size. Once you release your finger, you'll see 5 different options to your left. The 4th one from the top, the one above the trash can, click on it. This basically inverts the selection. So instead of the middle part being the selected area that we're editing, we're actually editing the areas around it. Okay, so here is the fun part. To your right, click on the light panel and bring down the exposure. And you'll see the areas around the phone get darker. You can also move this around. And again, I want you to pay attention to the source of the light. We basically just want to mimic it and enhance it. So that alone has changed the image dramatically. So we're going to add another radial brush here to the side and change the color temperature to something a bit warmer. I'm also adding a little bit of a red tint and saturation. And let's modify the size a tad bit, spread it out. And that's it. So the last thing we have to do is crop it for Instagram, which is 4:5, and then compose it like so, hit enter, and there we go. So here's the before and after. Actually, you know what? Let's narrow down the light source just a tad bit. I want it to look very dramatic, like that, and then move it down a little bit, change the angle. Yeah, let's make it smaller. I think this looks better. I mean, obviously it's really just gonna go down to your taste, but I kind of like this one. So again, thank you for subscribing to the newsletter. I hope you learned something valuable today that you can apply directly to your work. If you found value in this video, I only ask that you tell a friend and invite them to join the newsletter. And as always, please send me some feedback, some suggestions, or even questions. Send them to the email that you see on your screen right now. And as a quick reminder, next week will be a Photoshop lesson. So I'll catch you guys soon. Thanks.